from 5th to the 8th of July 2021. The theme is the future of African higher education. The conference will be held virtually and hosted by the government of Ghana and the 6 sub-themes as follows. Sub-theme 1, the future of African higher education post-COVID-19. Sub-theme 2, contributions of African higher education institutions to addressing the challenges linked to the COVID-19 pandemic. Sub-theme 3, contributions of African higher education institutions in achieving sustainable development goals. Sub-theme 4, funding of African higher education institutions in the face of unpredictable economy. Sub-theme 5, mainstreaming e-learning and the digital divide. Sub-theme 6, contributions of the diaspora to African higher education. Expected participants include ministries of higher education, academics, researchers and research organizations, regional economic communities, regional educational bodies like IUCEA, CAMES, and Sarua, the organized private sector and captains of industry, development partners and other education stakeholders. The AAU's 15th Quadrennial General Conference is here. To register, kindly go to the link below, and for further enquiries, please visit the website www.event.aau.org/GenCon or send an email to secgen@aau.org and copy info@aau.org. AAU, the voice of higher education in Africa.
L'Association des universités africaines, AUA, l'organisation faîtière de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique, invite toutes les parties prenantes à sa 15e conférence générale quadriennale qui se tiendra du 5 au 8 juillet 2021. Le thème de cette conférence est l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain. La conférence se tiendra virtuellement et se sera accueillie par le gouvernement du Ghana. Elle comprend les 6 sous-thèmes principaux suivants. Sous-thème 1, l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain après la COVID-19. Sous-thème 2, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains pour le relevé des défis liés à la pandémie COVID-19. Sous-thème 3, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains à la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable. Sous-thème 4, financement des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains face à une économie imprévisible. Sous-thème 5, intégration de l'apprentissage en ligne et de la fracture numérique. Sous-thème 6, contribution de la diaspora à l'enseignement supérieur africain. Les participants attendus comprenant entre autres les ministères de l'enseignement supérieur, des universitaires, les chercheurs et organismes de recherche en Afrique et au-delà, les organismes éducatifs régionaux comme la IUCEA, la CAMES, la Sarua, le secteur privé organisé et les chefs d'industrie, les partenaires de développement, agences et organisations internationales et d'autres acteurs de l'éducation. La 15e conférence générale quadriennale de l'AUA est là. Pour vous inscrire et participer, veuillez visiter la tinyurl.com/AAUGC 2021 et pour plus d'informations sur la conférence, veuillez visiter le site web event.aau.org/GenCon ou envoyer un courriel à secgen@aau.org et copier info@aau.org. L'AUA, la voie de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique.
Hello and welcome to another insightful and educative episode of African Student Voices on AAU TV. And my name is Ajimara Chodako. Don't mind my nose mask, you know it's part of the protocols, and that's why I have to be in nose mask speaking to you. But I'm glad you're watching us today on African Student Voices, because we're dedicated to inform, transform. And you know, we can't have a conversation these days without COVID-19. So we're on the COVID-19 series, looking for what COVID-19 has taken a toll on and discussing the way forward. And today, we're bringing you a topic: the impact of COVID-19 on job mobility, job search, and artificial intelligence. We believe that, in these uncertain and very abnormal times, COVID has taken a big toll on employment. People are not able to rise the ranks in firms because of COVID-19, and some who are actually on job search are finding a hard time because COVID has driven so many people away, or redundancy and a whole lot. But what is it in for the youth? What can we do about it? So we'll know the issues today and see the way forward. With me in the studio are passionate, great leaders to help me discuss the issue for you to appreciate and also join the discussion. So please join us on Facebook and YouTube with your comments. And don't go anywhere. We'll go for a short break. Right back, and I'll let you know who I have in the studio with me. You're welcome back, and if you just joined us, it's African Student Voices on AAU TV, where the students' voice are really heard, the contributions of students are heard. And we're in the studio today to discuss the impact of COVID-19 on job mobility, job search, and artificial intelligence. I want to begin with the first one, the congenial, the congenial Victoria Mankwa. She is the General Secretary of GRASAC GIJ. You're welcome, Victoria.
Thank you so much.
Also, I have here, I'll call him the gentleman of the land, because he's in line. And he is in the person of Mr. Oswald Annan. He is the Lumen Ambassador and also the FUSA President. Also, you're welcome to African Student Voices.
Thank you, sir.
I'm glad having you all nice people, because you are really the hot case right now. Talk about this matter, so I'm glad to have you here. And today we want to have a discussion on the state of COVID-19 and how it's affected job mobility, job search, and also artificial intelligence. There's fear looming up because we think that AI is a competitor against human labor. And also, on the other hand, COVID has made it hard for people to search for jobs, also acquire jobs, and also rise in the ranks of jobs. Some have lost their jobs already. So we really want to have a very tough discussion, basically, to help people understand what is it for them in these times. But let's begin for them to know who you are, basically. Victoria Mankwa, you just became the Secretary for GIJ GRASAC. How has it been like with you on this one?
Oh, it's cool. It's not been tough, and we are still working on it. And we are just working out with the whole brouhaha pertaining the deferment of some student at the Ghana Institute of Journalism. But aside that, everything is going on well.
It's unfortunate. I think you just resumed the office, and that's the first thing that falls on your table. But I know you still with your team. But how has it been also as a youth MP from your community? How inspired are you to keep things going over there?
Oh, okay. Everything is going on well. And gladly, as we took the mantle as youth parliamentarians, the positivity that we've wanted to see for the past 15 years or a decade has been achieved.
Great.
And I will speak with joy and with happiness, because before I took that position as a youth MP, road issue was one of the main problems that was affecting my people. And as a result of that, when it comes to wet seasons, kids are not able to go to school. But as I speak, I emphatically state that our roads are being constructed, our dams have been made, and because of this, kids now go to school. And whenever I step at Bon Katamanso, I step with pride and joy, because at least my team and I has made the impact we wanted to see. And then when it comes to sanitation, it was one of the major issues. But now, because of the help of a young company that we partnered with, dustbins have been able to give to some households and companies. And because of this, we know greater stakes are for us, and we have height to climb. And Bon Katamanso is proud of us, and so is a joy that we've always wanted to see. So things are going on.
Kudos to you on your role as youth MP.
Thank you.
I'll come to you also. How's it been so far working with Lumen as ambassador and also working as the PUSA president thus far?
Thank you very much once again for this opportunity.
Sure.
It has not been easy combining Lumen, PUSAC, that is talking about all the private investors in Ghana, and work as well.
Sure.
Despite everything, I also work. But there is one thing that I believe in, passion. Anything that you want to do in this world, if you have passion in it, regardless, you'll be able to sail through. So far, so good. Just that because of COVID-19, there were some of the things that we were supposed to do, we couldn't, because those things were supposed to be done physically. And COVID, indeed, protocols did not allow that. And therefore, we have no option. And for instance, it's very difficult to even do it or migrate to online. It's virtually impossible. For instance, the annual PUSA games, you cannot play soccer, at least on Zoom. It is impossible. But for me, looking at everything, chronicling our achievements and the things we were able to do, I think so far so good.
Great. Now let's zoom into discussion right now. In these times we're in, people are uncertain about companies' ability to hire people and even promote people. Somewhere last year we had lots of surprises, redundancies, cuts in salaries, and even some service personnel were even sent home. All of these events happened, and we were asking ourselves, what is the future of one getting employed in these times? So let's start with you. Help us understand the effect of COVID-19 in your own view on job mobility, job search, and also in Ghana, basically, in Africa.
Okay. As I always say, COVID has really done harm to our African sector, especially because West African countries is part of those countries that even development is very deep, and especially to the youth. We've all been victimized with such issues, especially with my colleagues who completed last year.
How did it go with them?
It didn't really go well with them. I can bear to the fact. Even those who were doing national service were even stripped off, told to come home in order not to spread the COVID. Who was working in a very prominent company, but because of COVID, was told to come home. And some too had the opportunity to still maintain their jobs, but there is precedency when it comes to the working hours and hence even salaries. So this has affected our economy as well. And I know some people are still striving well, but there is still a future. Despite the odds of COVID-19, there is still a way that we can still climb to the top. Yeah.
You know, I share in your optimism, but I want us to delve deep into the experience of these people, your colleagues who had to leave their job post and go home. How did they feel and how were they thriving? What were they going to do at home actually?
Okay, I had a friend, she completed from my school, GIJ, and she was one of the national service personnel that was told to come home. So when she came, I asked her, she told me, Vic, what am I going to do? I was like, I believe in you, because I always say I believe in the capabilities of the youth, and I believe there are those who can drive the system to a different level.
Yeah.
So she tried to apply to companies,
Sure.
but the feedback she was getting was, we are not in normal times and we can't employ you. So what she did was to adapt into the technological sector by exploring some entrepreneurial skills to be able to sustain life.
Okay.
And in the COVID times, everything was virtual.
Yeah.
So the skills that she had, she needed to mold it into the technological, fit into the system that we had. And I can bear to the fact, the little business she introduced is now making rings in the system. And she didn't even call me that she was even applying. So when others were calling that they want some ideas on how to apply for jobs and anything, she was rather doing her business. So as I always say, it doesn't matter the times that we have for ourselves. The future is always bright, pertaining on how you mold things around you. You can always create opportunity for yourself.
Great.
Because problem comes with opportunities. And there is a key to every opportunity that comes your way.
I'll pick it on your last word with issues come with opportunities. And I want to find out from also, do you really say in this line that issues or challenges have some aspect of opportunities that present to us. Regards to COVID, is there any opportunity in COVID-19 for job mobility?
Thank you very much. Yes, obviously there is opportunity. For me, there is one thing I personally subscribe to, that in any challenge there is opportunity.
Okay.
So your ability to discover that opportunity will do you good. Now, before I speak about opportunities associated with COVID-19, it is important we get to know statistics regarding what we are discussing here. Now, according to International Labour Organization, 114 million people, and the lockdown caused these people to lose their job. And it's resulted in about 3.7 trillion people lost labor income.
Okay.
Which is very, preposterous, devastating, and humiliating to people. And looking at this statistic, Ghana is not exempted. We are part. Now, a research was conducted by Ghana Statistical Service, UNDP, and World Bank. And according to them, 770,000 people lost jobs due to COVID-19. Now, before COVID-19, obviously, job in this country, I mean, in a country where we had graduate unemployed, for me, one of the shameful associations I've ever come across, for a graduate to form an association. Now, upon all this, COVID came in. And due to COVID, most of the companies were told to shut down. For instance, the hospitality industry. Now, regarding this, all those who are working in those hospitality industry cannot continue to work in their various sectors because you have been told to shut down. Now, ask yourself, where does the company get the funds to pay you? The company pays you through the service you are rendering, but in this case, you are not rendering the same service. So, COVID indeed came with a lot of challenges. Now, we cannot talk about all these challenges by excluding the opportunities. Yes, for me, I think we have more opportunities in COVID that we can take advantage of. For instance, we can carefully analyze our agriculture sector by making it attractive and magnificent to the young people. Because when you look at it well, even if COVID keep on increasing, I'm talking about the cases, you don't need to observe any protocol by engaging in agriculture. So it's something that I think we can also focus on by adding technology, advancing technology in agriculture sector. And I personally think that it will help us, not just only adding technology, by adding value to it. And I personally think it will help us. As I said, I've never seen a farmer being told globally by any president that when you go to farm, you must observe safety protocol. Obviously, no. So for me, when you do it well, we'll be able to get more young people and we will not experience redundancy, and we will not tell our people to go home. When the government tells organizations to shut down the businesses, farming or still everything migrated online. So we can also look at it critically and see how best we can do by ensuring that we will not find ourselves wanting in these circumstances. Interestingly, all the three people sitting down here, we are wearing nose masks. Now, those who are in this industry are fetching huge sums of money, sanitizer for it. And fortunately for us too, the president of this country made it compulsory that all this were supposed to be manufactured in Ghana instead of outside. So those who are contracted are Ghanaians. They are working, they'll be able to feed their family, and they'll be able to also employ more people. So for me, COVID, regardless of its challenges, its consequences or repercussions associated with the youths or the whole country as a whole, it also came out with some of opportunities.
Great. We just warmed up, we're just warming up on the discussion, basically knowing I think how COVID-19 has really affected business and also the way forward. But don't go anywhere. We'll go for a quick break and come back. We'll now delve deep into the solutions, the way forward, and what the realities are. Don't go anywhere. How often do you find the African fleet
on the market?
So welcome back to African Student Voices, and my name is Ajimo Chudako, and we just came back. We're still on the effect or the impact of COVID-19 on job mobility, job such. We'll also mention that we have avenues that we have to explore. Agriculture was one of them, and also the internet, and also so many indigenous businesses should really take advantage of this. But we want to really speak to the realities. What is real right now is that agric is not attractive in this continent. We know this. How many students in our universities are studying agric? How many students even see the need to know more about agric? We know how agric works in our country here, being real. Because someone told me that we sit and talk, but the reality isn't what it is. We'll come back to also your point on agric. You mentioned that your friend was an entrepreneur out there. Do you think Ghana or Africa basically is so viable to create more room for student entrepreneurs from your view?
Yes. I quite remember I saw a reportage on, I think, TV3 or GTV some time ago. The discussion was that the government should put things in place in order to boost student entrepreneur.
Yes.
That's when it comes to tax.
Sure.
Therefore, they should waiver tax from small-scale businesses in order to, influence or attract students. Because assuming I'm in the creative team, let's say I wave beads, I have a small shop, and somebody like me who just started the tax, you are tasking me for this. How will I even get to expand the business and employ others in order to curb that government can look at it? And with the agricultural sector, I think I'll tap with that place since I'm doing something in the agricultural sector.
What are you doing?
It's an exporting company.
Okay.
So we started somewhere last year. A colleague told me about an opportunity in the agric sector, and others also said farming. So I just how can I complete judge and come and do farming? And what she was doing was maize. So one said, despite everything, we can still make use of the maize. We can still brand it. We can add some value to it and attract others into it. Then we came up with the ideology that, fine, Ghana, when it comes to cashew nut, when it comes to cotton, when it comes to shea butter, is one of the things that we produce very well in the northern sector. But hence, tapping into it is very difficult for the younger people. So why don't we look at the northern sector, when we do that, we create jobs for all these people. And instead of just going to buy the shea butter and distribute to the market women, we can export it. Because there are other companies outside the country, like US, who make use of shea butter for creams, oils, and other stuff. We have China, we have UK, they all make use of this. UK, for instance, there was a company that used the shea butter for, I think, makeups, yes. So the three of us came with a mindset that we will add value to the agric sector in order to attract people. So we came up with the idea. We, as graduates, we went into companies with our proposal, well dressed. That is the value you add to yourself.
Yeah.
Because the work is there. It is up to you to use the theoretical ideology you tapped your tertiary sector to add value to whatever you do. Because assuming you walk into a farm, an old woman of about 60 years planting tomato, you tell the person, Grandma, add value. How will she do it? But we, the youth, are privileged enough to have had the educational skills so we can add the value to it and make it, valuable to people. So that's what we did. We walked into companies, talked to the CEOs, we had the opportunity to meet directors, we talked to them, they believed in us. As I said, there are great people out there who believe in a group of companies in Circle. He believed in what we were doing. So he said then he would tap into whatever we are doing and push us to the frontiers and onto the political sphere. And so this man connected us to people outside the country, even at the export sector, to assist us in whatever we are doing. Talk to them. We made them aware that fine, Ghana is one of the country because over 60% of our populace are into agric. And these are old and then old women and men. But our youth are not tapping there. They want the white-collar jobs, the governmental sectors, where the full AC, and then...
Well, you're going to blame them. You're going to blame the youth when the channel on TV is promoting the fact that parents should advise their children to choose TVET schools because government now wants to invest more into technical education training. But has that been the initial thought? We are rented to always wear suit and tie because that first more money.
Exactly. You know, that is the perspective. You are done, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Finance Ministry, banks and other places. That has always been the perspective.
Yes.
And the social construct, that is the best place we paid. That is the best place where you can get the money that you need.
Sure.
But as we build on, these social constructs formed around us is not the main reality on the ground. Because when you enter into the system, before you realize that is not what I thought of. Because assuming you complete 4 years in school and be receiving 500 Ghana cedis, would that be enough for you? So now I have realized on the real grounds that the youth of today are now beginning to widen their scope and their intelligence when it comes to these aspects of job.
Vicky, on the issue of widening their scope, I want us to just move to also on the point that also we are trying to create opportunities for young people who are stranded in the job market right now because of COVID-19. You mentioned that we could create our own indigenous, we can industrialize our own economy with basic things like nose masks and co. But you and I know that these latest or wax-made nose masks mostly are imported. Do you think there is enough policy grounds to support people to create their own, or let's say, be indigenous industrialists and also make money from it in our economy?
Thank you once again. Before I answer this, I want to add something to the agriculture sector.
Sure.
We say the point is not because you were told that the only way to become a successful person is through white-collar jobs. Now the point is, my mother, I'm set an example,
Sure.
Was a farmer. Yes, and she's still a farmer. Now, maybe she being a farmer, she started or she entered into farming for over years. And now she can't boast of anything. So obviously, she will never advise me to also enter into farming. So the point is, I personally think that the successive government have failed Ghanaians when it comes to agriculture sector, because that needed attention is not given to farmers. That is a challenge. Okay. So for instance, not that graduates are hesitating to enter into farming, but because they don't get the needed support. They don't get the needed attention. Because for instance, you don't expect a graduate to wear a cutlass to go to farm and weed. The person does not have the strength. How did the person enter into farming? You need capital. You need technology. Yes. How do I get this? I just graduated from university. From that, I started my national service, of which I received less than 600 Ghana cedis. How do I mobilize this money to even go and pay for land, acres of land, to start farming? So that is a challenge. We need assistance. We need support from government, corporate companies. So when they come on board, obviously, you find a lot of graduates or youth who will be, voluntarily enter into farming. Now, when you look at 2020, Ghana imported 950 tons of rice. Now, you just ask yourself the huge sums of money that we used to import this. And obviously, we import everything in this country. So if the needed attention is given to farmers, under no circumstance will we even waste our time to go and import this. And when you import, you are rather sending the money to them. But when we do everything in this country, obviously the money will remain. We get more people. For instance, if you are a farmer and you have about 20 acres of land, obviously, how many people are you going to employ? Non-recreative, obviously no, but there is no attention. That is the point. Now we are talking about cocoa rows, that sometimes you ask yourself, most of these so-called cocoa rows are constructed in the cities. But we are talking about cocoa rows. I don't know whether we grow cocoa in Accra here or Kumasi. Sure. But how to enter into something like this? And at the end of the day, when the time is due for them to go and even sell their cocoa, getting the money becomes problematic. Sure. Sometimes delays. I know what I'm talking about. Yes. My parents were farmers, and personally I know some of these things. Yeah. You get, somebody can harvest bags of maize and they will have all this in their rooms. There is no needed support. But if government comes on board this industrialization, one or two, focusing on these things, I think, you get a lot of people on board. You know, that after you harvest the maize, what do you used to do? You only cook, and that is the end of it. But in other countries, they use maize to do a lot of things. Even some of them use it to do wines and alcohols and all that. But Ghana is not like that. So we need a needed attention. We need a needed support. Government should support us. Most attention should be given to us. We should decentralize funds to our farmers. And I think, we'll be able to get more people. We will not struggle with this. When you go to Italy, one of the lucrative business there is tomato, isn't it? Yeah. Now, look at the state of Italy now. That is what they do most. And they are fetching huge sums of money. So if government can consider all this, and the corporate companies or the entities, I think we get a lot of youth to enter into farming, and it will be a good for all of us. Yes.
But now the policy aspect. Do we have enough political strength, or let's say policy strength, that could give room for young entrepreneurs to do their own business in Ghana and succeed? Because there's that much competition. It's like we are trying to help ourselves, but there's a bigger force fighting us, which is higher than what we can do.
You are right, and I agree with you 100%. I think the government and the previous government have done their best, but for me, I think there is still room for improvement, because we like talking too much. We don't walk the talk. Exactly. You know, obviously we abandon importation of rice. By the time we realize we are importing them, we abandon importation of this. By the time we realize, and obviously when those things come, you know, we prefer the imported ones instead of the locally made ones, and that is the challenge. So if the political will is there, and we don't just talk as it used to be from all the government that I know, from 1992 up to now, when it comes to the political will relating to this, we are the youth. Yes, it is a fact. And I think it is a time for government as a matter of agency to reconsider all this, because it will help all of us. Because we always like talking. We abandon this. We are not importing this. By the time we realize we are doing it, So I think it's a time for policy makers to come out with a formidable policy to assist the indigenous industries. We should give the indigenous industries taxes free and support. We should even set up technical team that they will go out to check the work that they do, not just finding fault, but to assist them. Because if some people, one thing I know is that Ghanaians are not lazy, especially the youth. When you have access to meet them, some of them have brilliant ideas that when they get the opportunity or the needed support, the things that they will do, it will surprise you. That is why, if you realize this, mostly when people migrate from this country and they go out, you see them excelling. And this vaccine that came, I stand to be corrected, but I think a Ghanaian, exactly the point. And when you look at these big organizations in this world, you find most of Ghanaians there. You ask yourself why? Because that place, they get access to distance. The support is there, the needed attention. But unlike this country, mostly when they even see you that they have such a potential, the system even fight against you. That is a challenge. So it's the time for you to wake up. We like backbiting. We like, hindering people's success. Instead of you to assist them, support them, we don't do. So I think we lack the political will. For me, that one we are failed. And I think maybe we need to look at this well.
Well, we'll have to wrap up because of our time, and we'll still have to send a message as concise as it is to everyone out there to understand the state of affairs right now with mobility, jobs, and also artificial intelligence, and what we can do. Victoria, what in your view would you want to sound to every young person out there? As also mentioned, we are full of potential, but we lack the congruence, the direction and the speed we don't have. What should we expect from this pandemic and also from ourselves, the next way forward? What should we do?
Okay, I'd like to add up to what Aso just said. You know, in Ghana, for instance, if somebody travels outside, the environment has been molded in a way that gives them that access to even unleash whichever potentials they have.
Great.
But in Ghana here, it seems our system has been molded and functioned in a way that it doesn't even give the youth the access that they need to even build whatever skills they have or whatever capabilities that they have. And that is one thing that we are not striving hard as a nation. And due to that, the development that we always want to see is not seen. Because our political leaders, when words that they say, is something they don't do.
Okay.
And when it comes to strong policies, to be able to institute and make sure there are accessible things for these youth, they don't do it. And one thing I always say is that Ghana, we have a very weak institution. We have the strong men, but we don't have the institution that put these strong men on their toes to do whatever they've been instructed to do. Someone can boldly enough to enlist policies that could really help the younger people, but at the end, they will rather do what they want. They'll have their way because our institutions have been manipulated in a way that gives them the free will, and hence there is no any sanction or anything attached to this. But when you go outside, they have the strong men, their institutions are very strong and are being tasked force that these people do whatever they are supposed to do to help the economy. That is why somebody will tell you, I want to travel outside to hustle because for there, I know things will be more easier for me than in Ghana. But in Ghana, I always say there are so many things around us. For the youth, there are so many opportunities around us that we can delve into that can make it. But our system is really not giving us a chance. Our leaders are not making the adequate resources or the facilities to facilitate whatever we want to do as people. And that is one of the main hindrances we've been facing over decades now. Ghana is six decades plus, and we are still facing such issues. And I've realized it's not something we are fighting for. It's something we are fighting against, and we don't want to do anything to make things better. But for the youth, there are greater opportunity for us. Because whenever I meet young people, I interact with them, I see angry people willing to make the change that we never saw from 1992 to date. We've had 4 Republicans and we are still suffering as a nation. But the youth of our time are willing to drive that force to a different level. But it's time that the facilities, or let me say the institutions we have in our country are well strong enough. If we have the strong men, Zimbabwe had the strong men, but then what did we see? Rwanda had the strong men, but what did we see? We rather saw genocide. Ghana has a strong man, but we don't want to involve in another genocide. It's time that our institution put task force on our leaders to pick up in. But if the system is fighting us, then how then do we get to what we want in life?
Also,
yes, sir.
What would you want to say as a closing remark?
All right. Thank you once again. I just want to make this passionate appeal to our lawmakers, policymakers, and the government. Policies, but its execution is the challenge.
Okay.
We have the technocrats, but the implementation. So with the greatest of respect, the youth, we are the future leaders.
Yes.
And the next generation is fully counting on us. We cannot afford to fail them. And it is important that the policymakers take us seriously. Enough of the talk. We want to see action. They should assist the youth. It can be in any form, technical support, financial support, and any engagement. They should take us, add us to the policy implementation, decision making, and I think it will help all of us. At the end of the day, a nation without youth is like a sea without fish. Obviously, it becomes irrelevant. the relevance of the sea can be seen through the fish that we get from the sea. So we are appealing to them. It is time for them to help us. They should take agriculture sector seriously, because I think that it is the only sector that can employ a lot of people if we pay the needed attention to it. Because even as it stands now, even though we are not paying necessary attention, we do it well, you'll be able to get more people on board. As I told you, you are talking about cocoa rows, but those so-called cocoa rows are constructed in the cities. Are you helping the farmers or what? So it's like we don't even regard them, because they worked, they toil for all this, and at the end of the day, you have cocoa hospital or clinic in Accra. How possible? This hospital or clinic should be situated in a nearby village where we grow cocoa, not in the city, so that the farmer knows that at the end of the day, my high end will take me to this hospital. But even when you go there, the hospital you see, there's nothing to, write home about. It meaning that we don't regard them. So it is time for we to pay needed attention to our farmers in doing. Under no circumstance will that person engage in atrocity, or engage in chaos or armed robbery. But mostly it happens because I know that when I go out and something happens to me, I have nothing to lose. But you have something to gain, under no circumstance will you compromise. So not because they want to, because they have nothing doing. So why can't we consider all this and assist our youth so that we bring end to all this?
Great. Thank you very much, my guest,
Always my pleasure.
The passionate elaboration you've made to this matter on the impact of COVID-19 and job mobility, job security, and artificial intelligence. You know, we can't forever lament on the dents that COVID-19 has had on job mobility, search, and artificial intelligence. What we can do is to chart a positive way forward, which our guests have mentioned to you all, that you need to just step up. But we have to right the wrongs in our economy. There's so many things that we're doing wrongly. There's so many priority areas that we're not giving the attention to, as also was mentioned. That our great is one that can really absorb a lot of people, number of people, the youth, but we're not giving the attention. And also, Victoria mentioned that there are so many indigenous businesses that we can also give more hands to, more attention to. But are we doing that? I believe that if Africa begins to right the wrongs that we have committed all these years and give the attention to the youth and prioritize with the youth, we can find a growing continent, because we are bound to grow. But how do we do it if we are not involved? Thank you so much for your time watching us and the comments you brought on board. We're glad to review it and also see how we could bring you more great contents to educate you, to inspire you, to inform you. Have a nice day and take care of yourself. Be safe. Bye.
To be archived for future reference, then look no further than AAU Studios, because it's your best bet with our spacious studio and state-of-the-art media equipment such as 4K Panasonic video cameras, KinoFlow lights, assorted microphones, live streaming equipment, among others. You are sure to get the best of productions. Visit us at Trinity Avenue, Eastlake, info@aau.org, AAU TV @aau.org, or Ransford @aau.org. Alternatively, you can call us on +233 244 736280.
Hello, Africa, and welcome to AAU Talks on AAU TV. AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. My name is Irene Dufiade, and I'm going to be your host for today's discussion. Today, we are talking about promoting science and technology innovations in Africa. My guest for today's conversation is Dr. Oluseyi Adeyemi of First Technical University, Ibadan, Nigeria. We go for a quick break, and when we come back, we will start with our conversation. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Dr. Oluseyi Adeyemi, thank you for joining us, and how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very fine. Thank you for having me.
Well, how are you doing? How has it been for you? We are all on lockdown, even with coronavirus.
Yeah, the government is trying all it could to ensure that the people are aware, people are well informed, and the people are following the protocols to at least reduce or alleviate the coronavirus.
Right. And so looking at the population of Nigeria, is it going so well for you?
Yeah, looking at the population, it's a risky thing.
Yeah.
And also considering the nature of the virus.
Yeah.
But so far, the government are trying all it could to at least ensure that majority of the populace are safe.
That's okay. And so, Dr. Adeyemi, you are a lecturer at the First Technical University. We might not know a lot about it, so we want to talk about First Technical University and what you do over there.
Okay. First Technical University, it's a university that was established over 2 years ago. The main aim is to promote science, technology, and innovation with entrepreneurship, and also to ensure that there is a kind of outcome-based learning, whereby students just don't follow the theoretical module alone, but they bridge theory with practice.
Right. And so today we are discussing promoting science and technology innovations in Africa. As there is art, there is liberal art, there are other courses. But why is there the need to promote science and technology innovations in Africa?
Yeah, thank you. It's extremely important. First, I like to say, what is science? To me, science is just a way of developing knowledge and trying to apply that knowledge systematically, at least some evidences. And then when you think of technology, technology is just a tool by which you can solve real-life problems.
Right.
As well, when you think of innovation, you think of bringing out new ideas or creative ways of doing existing things. So when you think of the combination of all these three, you would agree with me that in Africa, we definitely need science, technology, and innovation in order to emanate into what we call a knowledge economy.
Right.
We actually foster the prosperity of Africa. And that's why it's important that Africa that closely science, technology, and innovation.
Yeah, and talking about Africa, we know the Agenda 2063, which the STISA is a subset of it, which talks of science, technology, innovation, strategy for Africa. And looking at this roadmap for development, what can you say as leaders, or what was the thinking?
STISA is a very good framework and a very good policy. It's actually supposed to integrate Africa in terms of development in science, technology, and innovation. What has to this is the fact that everyone knows that Africa is not matching the developed world in terms of science, technology, and innovation. And in an attempt to do that, we actually need to promote and increase our level of scientific discoveries, application of those discoveries, and development of tools to actually apply those discoveries in our own context.
Right. Very important.
We've seen a lot in the developed world. There is a gap.
Mm.
In order to reduce such gap, then we need to promote more of scientific discoveries and the technology to ensure that those discoveries are well applied to the benefit of the populace in Africa and at least larger world, and at least to be able to contribute something in terms of innovation to the global world.
Right. So how has the journey been so far? Because STISA was 2014 and we are in 2020. 6 years. What would you say it has been for Africa? Are we still on the road, or we've diverted a little bit?
Well, spelled out policy, but when you have a goal, some things come in between the goals that you cannot think of by the time you start to think of the goal. I wouldn't say that we are there yet. I won't say that we have completely diverted from the STISA objectives, but I would rather say that we are not following it accurately as we have hoped to be, and that's not a problem in itself. So many things have come in between. Even before this year, or can I say late last year, before the emergence of the coronavirus. You agree with me, this integration of the program into phases. STISA is doing quite well in terms of following what they have per phase.
Right.
And we are in the third phase of the STISA agenda, which is to develop new programs. And coupled with the fact that coronavirus asking for scientific discoveries, asking for scientific answers to questions.
Exactly.
And on that, I would say that STISA is still, going as it should be, but at least we can do better.
Right. And so we want to situate our conversations to African universities, to higher education in Africa. And so what are some of the prerequisites for STISA to be successful? Because as you said, there has been progress. But what do we need to do, or what do we need to get for it to be achieved completely in Africa?
Yeah. Thanks for that. Like I said, we need a very good enabling environment.
Great.
One thing to have these policies is one thing to ensure that those policies are implemented according to what is out in the policy frameworks.
Right.
So, for STISA to be able to achieve this, like I said earlier, an enabling environment that promotes scientific discovery, also promote the adoption of technology, and also create a way whereby people can be encouraged to think without the box, bring out new innovations, and think differently in an attempt to help the society with some of the problems that we know and some of the problems that are not yet known. Now, to bring we also talk of bringing out new programs that could actually involve the integration of most of the higher education universities in Africa.
Right.
Right now, there are some kind of scientific activities, research funding for PhD students, for postdocs, for a lot of scientific research grants are coming out now that is actually in a thread that is allowing other African countries to be able to collaborate with their colleagues in other countries, both within the African framework, to be able to at least make some new discoveries about common problems or similar problems in those African countries.
That's fine. And so talking about African higher education and what we can do, I want to talk about how, for us as academia, how we can integrate those who are not in the academic field. You know, there are a lot of people, if you come to Ghana, for instance, and you go to, let's say, Abosu Okai, if you go to Bremen in Kumasi, these are people who are doing technological work. You know, they will fix your car for you, but they don't have the prerequisite knowledge as to how to put this on paper, the knowledge to do it very well. And so how do we as Africa universities integrate some of these non-academic innovators to become such a powerful hub that we don't need just universities, but rather we can put all of these people into mainstream, let's say, engineering or technology courses for them for like development?
Yeah, that's quite great. Well, thinking of my own university where I presently lecture, that is one of the main objectives of the university.
Right.
To be able to have students that can blend theory with practice. Not engineers or not technical people with just theoretical knowledge, but people who use their hands to do something based on the knowledge and skill that they have acquired. And in an attempt to do this, they also have vocational programs for them, where they also learn the basic conventional skills. The reason why such is allowed is for them to be able to know what the skill is and the level that they were before they acquired that skill and the level that they are now when they have acquired that skill. So understanding that, to think of new innovations, to think of new ways of doing existing things, and to bring out value from that, then we can also say that, you know, they are going in the entrepreneurial way. So for my own institution, in an attempt to bring people from the society who don't have the theoretical knowledge, what we do is, you know, we invite them for some of this vocational training for our students. And in that way, they have an interaction with our students. Our students are able to gain from their practice-oriented approach and from the skills that they have gathered over time. And our students are now able to think of the theoretical underpinnings of some of these things that these people that are in the society are doing without even formal education. And again, in my own university, one of the things they also do to encourage, you know, people like that is they invite them to come over, show us your innovation, show us your invention.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Let's interact together. Let's know what they are doing. And in that process, they are also able to understand, because sometimes they do things without even thinking of the reason why they did it.
They are doing it, exactly.
So when we talk together like that, we make them understand, okay, this is the reason why you are doing this. Then in that way, they understand the reason now. Then they can also think of, oh, could there have been that we think to collaborate together to take such innovations or such inventions to the next level? That's what we've been doing in our university. Again, we also do have like a kind of tea meeting where people from the industry would come. The experts that we know from our different fields, you know, would interact with the students and also with the faculties. And, you know, through that interaction, you know, ideas spring up, innovations spring up. And we tend to pursue that in collaboration with students, the faculty, and people from the industry. So there's a kind of active relationship between the town and the gown.
That's right. I was about asking you about linkages. But since you've already talked about that, we go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with our discussion. This is AAU Talks on AAU TV. Do stay tuned.
Welcome to the University of Khartoum, which was set up in 1902 in Khartoum, Sudan. The university has a lot of antique buildings, and among them is the University of Khartoum Library, which is one of the oldest buildings of the university. It was set up in the early 20th century. The library has benefited from some donations, and these include the Turkish and the Japanese corners. The Turkish corner was refurbished by the Turkish Cooperation Agency, and the Japanese corner was also refurbished by the Japanese International Cooperation Agency. The main entrance of the library has two big halls, the Western Hall and the Eastern Hall. These great halls house historic collections of the university. The university library facilities include an antique conference room that is a popular destination for numerous conferences and public lectures. The library is also a repository of ancient manuscripts, photos, newspapers, and very old maps of regions, countries, and Africa. A majority of the manuscripts are in Arabic. Among the artifacts in the library are a 900-year-old Holy Quran, a 20 volumes description of Egypt by Napoleon Bonaparte and a group of French scholars. There is the Sudan Almanac, which is over 100 years old, as well as a Holy Quran, which was donated by the President of the Sudanese Senate in the 1950s. University of Khartoum Library is a must visit to the first-time visitor, as well as researchers and other academics who visit Sudan.
Welcome back. In case you just tuned in, this is AAU Talks on AAU TV, and I'm here with Dr. Oluseyi Adeyemi of First Technical University, Ibadan, Nigeria, and we are discussing promoting science and technology innovations in Africa. Doug, before we went on the break, we were talking about a very critical issue of higher education in Africa, and that is university-industry linkages. I think these are some of the things that we don't really take absolute care of when we are in the universities, because most times, except those in the universities who are doing practical course, most of us don't go out to do real life attachment for us to improve on what we've already learned. And then you talked about how important it is. Is there a way that we can make it compulsory for us to, as universities, to have something that is cut into law that if you are doing science, technology, innovation, there are supposed to be some hours that has been set aside technically for hands-on practice outside of your university?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Like I said earlier, in the curriculum of the present university where I am now, the First Technical University, Ibadan, there are vocational trainings that are held before they even start normal theoretical activities.
Oh, okay.
So with that, they're able to understand some skills, some values, and when they are now going through their main program, they are able to understand how those skills relate to what they are learning theoretically. Again, there are also already established hands-on trainings that are also involved in the curriculum, particularly when you are in the technical area or technical programs.
Sure.
Like in Nigeria here, we have the student work experience program for students that are in the 200 level undergraduates. That's about setting about some 8 weeks for them after their main theoretical learnings to be able to go out to the field, put their hands on something, learn the way they are doing it, and be able to bridge, the gap that is existing with what they have learned and what they are saying practically. And also, when they get to their 3rd level, they do the same thing. They go for 12 weeks, hands-on in the industry.
Right.
That is kind of related to their studies. And also, for technical courses, even in the 400 level, when they are in the 4th year, they still go for about 6 months, complete whole semester.
Right.
To learn about practical things, to be able to at least leverage on their theoretical learnings with practice, and as such, bridge theory and practice. So that is already established in the curriculum, and that also has some regulatory or legal underpinnings, at least from the Nigerian University Commission.
Right.
So, following that from the Nigerian perspective on that scale, and coming down to the university scale, there is vocational trainings, and there is no project, no scientific, technological, or innovative project that the university will embark upon that it will not involve the students and the faculty.
Right.
And that is also to create a kind of robust environment.
Yeah. So I think for that we are doing well, but the question still remains, why are we still where we are? Because looking at the things that we put on the ground, looking at improvements that we have, we still have a lot of challenges. And so I would want to know from you, since you are the expert, what has been some of the challenges and why are we still not seeing the progress that we want to see, because we are doing so much?
Well, to be honest with you, so many factors come into play.
Right.
In Nigeria, for example, there are also some established bodies that aim to assist universities in terms of funding to be able to do the research that they need for scientific discovery, the technology that they need to be able to train students and staff, and whatever form of innovation that are trying to derive. If funding would be a problem, those bodies like the TED Fund come in to assist. But then, like in my own university, it's just started about 2 years ago, but I can tell you that groundbreaking discoveries, according to the Vice Chancellor, who, like has always been said, is a perfectly fit Vice Chancellor for such a university as ours.
Yeah.
And the reason being that no matter the funding or the grant that it receives for all these kind of initiatives, they are well spent for such programs. So, when there is a value for spending money, then there will definitely be value that the student can also, get from the equipment that have been bought, from the facilities that have been put on ground for them to be able to learn and achieve the main aim of the outcome-based learning, which we are trying to promote through science, technology, and innovations. So it comes back to the point that if things are done the way they should be done, without any level of corruption, then we will achieve much more.
Yeah.
Again, we also need some legal frameworks that create some kind of flexibility.
Right.
What is much more important is actually our contribution and the value that is earnest from our contribution. So it does not really matter for a student to be involved in a project for ages. But then what is value from such project? So the point I'm making is it's also challenging to be able to get funds for students to do some kind of student little projects.
Right. And so you've listed about one or two. What other challenges do you think needs to be addressed for science, technology, and innovation to move in Africa?
Yeah, like looking at the sister framework, there are priority areas. Focusing much more on those priority areas. Like when we talk of food security, when we talk of, health, look at this issue of COVID-19. You see how it has disrupted the whole world and also disrupted Africa. And now we are coming to a new normal. That's also challenging. But at least if there have been frameworks or a kind of body that is involved with, trying to combat new diseases, like in the government, in the Nigerian government, there is this NCDC, Nigerian Center for. We normally have a department that are involved with, dealing with diseases and, trying to find solutions. There should be a kind of funding for them to also look for the current diseases that we have in Africa, how they can be alleviated, and in case we have that would allow them to be able to act quickly to combat whatever new disease or whatever will be coming.
Yeah.
Taking an example of my university again, in terms of food security, we also think to have a large farm where we grow foods. And the university management also promote that by encouraging both staff and students, to have some little things doing apart from the main academic activity. So, when such a kind of framework is actually developed, it avoids a lot of other challenges. Because if I grow the food for me and few other people, and you can grow the food for you and some other few people, like that, the chain is increasing, and before you know it, we'll be feeding our community. And then the problem associated with food security will not be mentioned again.
Right.
So that's
I think one critical thing that when we were touring Nigeria from the Association of African Universities, and one of the universities we were so proud of was Afe Babalola University, and he had put in place such mechanisms that you can get everything, including farms, poetry, whatever it is that is in the university. And this university is invested in science and technology. And so what you are saying is very critical and self-sustaining, even when we are on lockdowns and then things can't come in. These are investments that we need to do as African universities. And so we can't go without talking about some of the achievements that has been chalked by the First Technical University. And so I'll give you like a minute to tell us what has been some of the achievements that you've been able to do since science, technology, and innovation is involved.
Well, for the First Technical University, there have been some products that we've been able to develop, and they are already patented. There are still a lot of research activities about so many products that we are trying to fine-tune before we patent them. And there are also some products that we are commercializing right now. So, in terms of what we've been doing in science, technology, and innovation, there is quite a lot of innovation that is going on in this university system. And people have always been coming from outside to come and see how the management have been doing that. Like I said, the young university, and like you mentioned the case of Afebala the other time, most of these things that they are doing, we are doing that, and we are also forging ahead, doing more things. Because we also have a fish pond where we raise fish. The university has its own, fishery. So, we develop fish. We also have arable farming where crops are developed. And, when we also have challenges with our automobiles, there is a section there that they are fixed. And we also have some labs where, they are for material testing. We have labs for digital production of products. So, these have been some of the breakthroughs that the university have been having. And I tell you, starting a university from the ground field is not easy. The management have been able, to bring itself from that level, at least to be at par with even long-term existing universities.
And for just being 2 years, it's quite a huge achievement to get things patented and then commercialized. And so we know that you are doing well.
Thank you.
And so we are wrapping up, Doc. So we would want to know what are some of the recommendations that you think that when we do science, technology, and innovation would be improved. What do you think that are some of the realistic targets that we can set to be able to achieve our agenda for this framework?
Yeah. Like I said, developing more programs that would integrate people from different universities in Africa more closely, But then when we aim to harness all these resources together, we can bring out beautiful things. Again, thinking of an enabling environment, and I put emphasis on that because when you help, when you need help, the speed, the speed at which you get things done will be accelerated. And most of all these bureaucratic...
I was about mentioning that the bureaucracies in Africa.
Exactly. That slow down things will have been done away with.
So thank you, Doc, for joining us this morning. This is just the first part of it. We'll come back for the part 2. It has been an insightful discussion with you this morning. In case you just tuned in, this has been Promoting Science and Technology Innovations in Africa with Dr. Oluseyi Adeyemi. My name is Irene Dufiade, and I've been your host for today's discussion. Do stay tuned.
The Association of African Universities, AAU, is an international non-governmental organization set up by universities in Africa to promote cooperation among themselves and the international academic community.
Mon nom est professeur Étienne Eouan-Eilé. Je suis le secrétaire général de l'Association des universités africaines qui est basée à Accra, au Ghana. Je vais vous parler de la création de l'Association des universités africaine. Il faut remonter dans les années 60 pour pouvoir comprendre le processus. Déjà en 1960, nos dirigeants estimaient que l'éducation est l'outil majeur pour pouvoir lutter contre la pauvreté et assurer le développement.
I am Notumo Dlamini. I'm the Director of ICT Services and Knowledge Management at the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities is a network of 400 universities in Africa. The biggest value that the universities benefit from being members of the association is this big platform that allows them to collaborate, allows them to work together, allows them to teach together. Through this platform, a university in North Africa can work with a university in Southern Africa and also those in East.
At a conference in Rabat, Morocco, by heads of African higher education institutions, the association is currently headquartered in Accra, Ghana.
My name is Maxwell Amo-Hoyt. I'm the Director of Finance of the Association of African Universities. The association sustains itself from contributions from member universities and also from other development partners. Some of our development partners include the World Bank, other governmental agencies like the Swedish International Development Agency, UK Department for International Development, and other partners. We also receive a lot of support from other governments, especially the government of Ghana. Other partners include the African Union, which is more or less the parent organization of the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities hosts the Secretariat for the African Union's Continental Education Strategy. And by so doing, we provide coordinating roles for the African Union in helping members achieve their targets.
Déjà en 1960, nos dirigeants estimaient que pour pouvoir lutter contre la pauvreté et assurer le développement. Et rappelons-nous que les années 60, la décade 60, a été une décade où la plupart des pays africains ont obtenu leur indépendance ou ont, disons, pris les dispositions pour être indépendants. C'était donc aussi l'année de développement, dans la mesure où tous ces pays indépendants devaient se retrouver de temps en temps pour parler de comment mettre ensemble leurs problèmes et trouver une solution commune à leurs problèmes. Et dans ce contexte-là, l'éducation était une priorité pour eux, surtout l'éducation universitaire. Et sur ce plan-là, les universités aussi se sont organisées grâce à l'UNESCO qui a parrainé plusieurs réunions depuis Madagascar jusqu'au Maroc.
My name is Jonathan Umba. I'm the Director of Research and Academic Planning. The programs and projects that we run at AAU are consistent with our strategic plan, and they are implemented for our higher education stakeholders, namely the higher education institutions in Africa. These programs are implemented in such a way that our stakeholders will get the benefit of membership of our association. And our programs also are aligned with a number of global and international agendas on higher education, including the Continental Education Strategy for Africa and the Agenda 2063. So these programs are aligned with a number of international agendas with a view to promoting higher education in Africa.
The AAU is the apex organization and principal forum for consultation, exchange of information.
Vice Chancellor of the National University of Lesotho in the Kingdom of Lesotho in Southern Africa. There are roughly 77 universities that are affiliated with the AAU in the region. But as you might be aware, there are a lot more universities that are as yet to take the membership of the Association of African Universities. Well, universities that are not members of the AAU are missing quite a lot. First of all, let's appreciate this one point, that the AAU is a main driver from the angle of training and capacitating the human resources of the continent, the agenda of the African Union 2063. So if an institution is not on board, it is missing the opportunity to leverage on the opportunities that are provided by the association in the area of training, human resource capital, training their own staff and students, the opportunities that are provided by education on the continent, and many other opportunities that are provided.
Et en 1963, il y a eu une réunion à Khartoum, au Soudan, où les chefs des institutions d'enseignement supérieur ont décidé de créer l'Association des universités africaines. Finalement, la création va se faire à une conférence qui s'est tenue à Rabat au Maroc, et la création de l'Association des universités africaines a eu lieu le 12 novembre 1967.
Amba, representing for East African region. Also, I am the president of Plasma University, Mogadishu, Somalia. We really like to give a call for universities in Africa, especially in East Africa, Those which are not members, we are calling them because we feel the organization is ours. It represents the voice of higher education in Africa being seen all over the world.
I'm here with the Association of African Universities Television, AUTV. I just want to say that without the media, know what's going on in the world. So you need to tune in to the reliable sources who are really on the front lines, who can give you the information you need and give you facts, not conjecture, give you real news, not fake news. And this is the place to find it, AUTV.
The voice of higher education in Africa.
The Association of African Universities, AAU, Africa's apex higher education organization, invites stakeholders to its 15th quadrennial General Conference from 5th to the 8th of July 2021. The theme is the future of African higher education. The conference will be held virtually and hosted by the government of Ghana under 6 sub-themes as follows. Sub-theme 1, the future of African higher education post-COVID-19. Sub-theme 2, contributions of African higher education institutions to addressing the challenges linked to the COVID-19 pandemic. Sub-theme 3, contributions of African higher education institutions in achieving sustainable development goals. Sub-theme 4, funding of African higher education learning and the digital divide. Sub-theme 6, contributions of the diaspora to African higher education. Expected participants include ministries of higher education, academics, researchers and research organizations, regional economic communities, regional educational bodies like IUCA, CAMES, and Sarua, the organized private sector and captains of industry, development partners, and other education stakeholders. The AAU's 15th Quadrennial General Conference is here. To register, kindly go to the link below, and for further enquiries, please visit the website www.events.aau.org/GenCon or send an email to secgen@aau.org and copy info@aau.org.
Des universités africaines, AUA, l'organisation faîtière de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique, invite toutes les parties prenantes à sa 15e conférence générale quadriennale qui se tiendra du 5 au 8 juillet 2021. Le thème de cette conférence est l'avenir de l'enseignement accueilli par le gouvernement du Ghana. Elle comprend les 6 sous-thèmes principaux suivants. Sous-thème 1, l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain après la COVID-19. Sous-thème 2, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains pour le relevé des défis liés à la pandémie COVID-19. Sous-thème 3, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains à la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable. Sous-thème 4, financement des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains face à une économie imprévisible. Sous-thème 5, intégration de l'apprentissage en ligne et de la fracture numérique. Sous-thème 6, contribution de la diaspora à l'enseignement supérieur africain. Les participants attendus comprenant entre autres les ministères de l'enseignement supérieur, des universitaires, les chercheurs et organismes de recherche en Afrique et au-delà, les organismes éducatifs régionaux comme la IUCEA, la CAMES, la Sarua, le secteur privé organisé et les chefs d'industrie, les partenaires de développement, agences et organisations internationales et d'autres acteurs de l'éducation. La 15e conférence générale quadriennale de l'AUA est là. Pour vous inscrire et participer, veuillez visiter la tinyurl.com/AAUGC 2021 et pour plus d'informations sur la conférence, veuillez visiter le site web event.aau.org/GenCon ou envoyer un courriel à secgen@aau.org et copier info@aau.org. L'AUA, la voie de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique.
welcome to Health Africa on AAU TV. AAU TV is the voice of higher education in Africa. Today on Health Africa, we are continuing with a discussion on sickle cell. But today, we are discussing sickle cell related stigma. There's a lot of stigma that goes on around people with sickle cell. People say they are water babies. People say they are spirits. People say they fall sick too often. And a whole lot of things people say about persons with sickle cell, but it is not good. You shouldn't stigmatize against persons with sickle cell. That is why today I have in the studio Mr. Gabriel Opoku-Bempong. He is
Salim. He is also the co-founder of Peer Foundation. Today the conversation is on another level. You shouldn't miss it. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. My name is Bridget Amadente.
Why University of Ilorin?
I chose the University of Ilorin for a number of reasons. One of them is the fact that the university has a very conducive environment. It provides students with a proper academic environment.
I chose the University of Ilorin improving their morals and also in the aspect of improving their dressing in terms of decency.
It feels good knowing that your 4 years is 4 years and your 5 years is 5 years. Unlike a number of schools in Nigeria where your 4 years course might last 5 years, 6 years, or even 7 years in some extreme cases. But University of Ilorin, better by far, your 4 years course is 4 years course. And it feels good knowing that after 4 years, I'll be rounding up my session. That's one of the things I really love about this university.
Welcome back. This is still Health Africa on AAU TV. As I said earlier, we are discussing sickle cell related stigma. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. So Gabriel, I want you to talk about stigma. When we talk about stigma, what is stigma and its relation to sickle cell?
Okay. To begin with, thank you for the question. Yes. So stigma is something that is a major problem even in Ghana with regards to many viruses. We also have stigma that people show towards people who are living with sickle cell. I must say, stigmatization is a real canker that is affecting all health professionals and even people who are also living with certain ailments. And in Ghana, for instance, when we talk about sickle cell, we have people who, out of ignorance and out of lack of knowledge, they see patients living with sickle cell to be water babies. They see them to be babies from the shrine. They see them to be people who wouldn't really live long. I think there's a main myth associated with sickle cell where people think that if you have sickle cell, you don't grow past the age of 18 or even 20 years. And so when they see these kind of kids living with a sickle cell, they even tell their kids not to go near them, because usually patients with sickle cell present with looking a little bit slim, looking very sick, and so we see them to be out of the ordinary. But we say that stigmatization to patients living with sickle cell shouldn't be supported at all.
Yeah. So anything to add to it?
Yeah, just I concur 100% with what Gabriel said. From where I'm standing or how I view things, it's not the best. And like you rightly said, the main reason behind that is because of ignorance, lack of knowledge. People are not well informed as to why the disease has come about in the first place, so they tend to associate other myths with it, and then that leads to this whole stigma, which groups like Sickle Cell, Sickle Life, and then Peer Foundation have been trying to break 4 years now.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So we went out, we sent a write-up out to people, and then we told them to send us videos of what they know about sickle cell, their sickle cell status, some of the misconceptions that they have heard. So we'll play it, and then after the video, you'll speak to some of the things that the people have said, and then you correct them as and when. Okay. So let's take a look at the video that was sent in by students from various universities across Ghana.
Hi, I'm Akwedo Kai from the University of More Prevalent in Africans, and it's the reason why Africans can better withstand severe forms of malaria. The sickle cell refers to the shape of the red blood cell, which becomes sickle-shaped or biconcave, and as a result of the hemoglobin loss of function. So it can be passed on from status can be AA, which is the normal, AS, SS, or SC for the sickled hemoglobin. I'm AA, by the way. I'd like to find out more about the treatments for sickle cell. Thank you.
Sickle cell is a disorder that affects the red blood cell, and instead of forming the regular round shape, it forms this S shape, and it affects the body a lot. The person going through the sickness go through a lot of pain, and the person visits the hospital more regularly, frequently. You get it? Yes. So the misconception about sickle cell is that we are not allowed to marry people with that disease because you can give birth to children who have that, who are also sickle cell, and sometimes the probability is very low. So we shouldn't stigmatize them. We should love them. We should bring them close. I think that is the only thing we can do for them. Yeah, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is John Abeli, a level 300 student of the University of Ghana. What I know about sickle cell is that it's a hereditary disease where the red blood cells attain a sickle shape, hence giving them a smaller surface area for the absorption of oxygen. This causes the red blood cells to break down earlier than the 120 days lifespan. This also causes blockage of blood flow in the body of those who suffer from this disorder and gives them intense pain. Sickle cell can only be diagnosed medically and it can be treated with regular medication, blood transfusion, and sometimes bone marrow transplant. Do you know your sickle cell status? Make sure to check because it's not advisable for one suffering from sickle cell to marry another who has sickle cell. Go check yourself and be safe. Thank you.
My name is Priscilla Mamitriba Akins, a student of the Ghana Institute of Journalism. I want to talk to you about sickle cell. Sickle cell is a group of disorders that cause red blood cells to become mishaps and break down. Sickle cells can get stuck in a small blood cell, which can also stop the flow of blood in the tissue of the body. When others do not get enough blood, they do not get enough oxygen, which can also end up with damage and pain. There are some misconceptions about sickle cell I want to talk to you about. Only black people get sickle cell. All red blood have the same properties, which are never true. Also, people with sickle cell must always visit the doctor. They must go to the hospital regularly. You must take enough water as well.
I am Nana Masewa, and I want to share my view on sickle cell. Sickle cell is a condition present at birth, and it is inherited when an offspring receives a trait from both parents. One may ask, what causes sickle cell? It occurs when one's red blood cell shape is distorted from its disc shape into a sickle shape. This causes many red blood cells to die, leaving a few healthy ones. So we often find sickle cell patients getting ill frequently. But we can't conclude that whoever falls sick very frequently is a sickle cell status.
Thanks for this opportunity to share my thoughts on sickle cell anemia or sickle cell disease. So around the globe, there are so many misconceptions concerning this particular disease that these patients also face. So some of these myths are that they rely on narcotic drugs or other hard drugs just to survive due to some of the chronic pains that they feel in their bones. Some also argue that they do not live long. But what is sickle cell as a whole? So we are talking about red blood cells that is shortened, or there's no enough red blood cells enough to provide oxygen for the patient to live as normal as those without the sickle cell disease live. They get it through hereditary, maybe through their parents and forefathers then. And these sickle cell disease patients can be cured now in this modern age through bone transplant. So I feel this particular misconceptions and then other stereotypical names attached to these people should be taken off. And then we are in a modern age, and we need to live and then enjoy the life that we have. Thanks for this opportunity.
Hello, I'm Philomena Anyomi, a level 200 student of the University of Ghana, Lagos. It's all about the World Sickle Cell Day on 19th of June. This day is set aside to create awareness on sickle cell and also take off misconceptions people have about sickle cell. Sickle cell diseases is a disorder that occurs in the molecules of the red blood cells that transport oxygen throughout the cells. Signs and symptoms usually come in during early childhood, and some include low red blood cells number, frequent infections, among others. Sickle cell is not contagious as people think it is. It is inherited from parents. I also got to know that bone marrow transplant and then stem cell transplant helps cure sickle cell. I want to know how effective and safe this transplant is.
You're welcome back. You're welcome back. So after taking a look at the videos that were sent from all across Ghana from students, Gabriel, what do you have to say about the videos? And then we'll come to Sally.
I think those were very interesting submissions from the students across Ghana from the various universities. So I'd like to talk a little bit about sickle cell and how it comes about. In fact, sickle cell, before you can get sickle cell, one of your parents or even both of your parents should have either the trait or the disease. And so if I am a child and I am born with sickle cell, then it means I got it from one of my parents or even both of my parents. There were certain instances where people thought that sickle cell was gotten through sex, and as such they classified it as a sexually transmitted disease. Sickle cell is not a sexually transmitted disease. So basically our red blood cells are supposed to carry oxygen by concave disc shaped cell. When a patient has sickle cell, this particular biconcave shaped cell actually takes the form of a sickle, or basically the shape of a moon, the half moon, a crescent. Yes. And so its ability to carry oxygen to the various tissues of the body is impaired. And therefore our tissues that require oxygen to function normally are deficient. And so you would see them characterizing it with pain in their joints, having some of their bodily organs, I think, not functioning 100%. Yes. I think one of your viewers made a mention that patients living with sickle cell, there's a misconception that they die early, and that is very true. When we see patients with sickle cell, we think that as soon as we see them, oh, these kids are not going to live long, they are going to die. To be frank with you, if you have sickle cell, there are certain things that you must do, and that would come to that. But treatment for sickle cell is also ongoing. I think one of your someone mentioned it. I think there's one cutting-edge technology which we call the bone marrow transplant. Yes, for the bone marrow transplant, it seems to be very effective. Yes, and so for that, it actually we replace your bone marrow. For a patient with sickle cell, okay, you are going to live with a sickle cell for life. It isn't going to go away because it's a hereditary disease. It's part of your genetic makeup. It's like a code that was engineered into your body. So take, for example, your eye shape, your nose shape, your ear shape. It's a genetically coded mechanism which can never be changed, just like sickle cell. And so if we want to treat sickle cell, just like one of the speakers said, when we do the bone marrow transplant, it means we are replacing what produces the red blood cells. And so you'd be able to produce red blood cells which are normal in shape.
Okay, Salim.
Yeah. Well, to add to what Gabriel said, I mean, it's an inherited genetic disorder, which you have to get from both parents in order to get the disease, or to have a trait of it. So most of the submissions by the people that sent in the videos were pretty much on have some knowledge to some extent about the disease, and that it also helps combat the whole stigmatization around and sickle cell. The one that got to me was the student that made a submission about it being an allergy.
Yeah.
That she thought it was an allergy. And then, well, now we know it's not.
Yeah,
it's inherited. And then also with the marriage bit, you know, that is why we advocate that try and get tested, so that once you know your status, it helps you make an informed decision.
Yeah.
So it's not right to label sickle cell patients as people that we cannot marry, or you can't get married to. They can't get married, and they can bring bring forth offspring and all that. They're just human beings like us, but in a special way.
Yeah. And then someone also noted that only blacks can get sickle cell.
Yes. I mean,
that's also another misconception.
That's also a very big misconception, as you can see. Once it's an inherited genetic disorder, and then we all have blood flow into our beings, regardless of your pigmentation, you can get it.
Okay, so Salim, with Peer Foundation, what are some of the strategies that you're putting in place to advocate against stigmatization? Because it's on the rise.
Yes, it is. It is on the rise. So at the very core of our mandate, I mean, as a advocacy group, we target tertiary and then secondary institutions, because we feel that relationships start from these, you know, these places, and then they hope. So we saw those as the hot zones, that if we try and create as much awareness as possible within these groups, it would help enhance and also create as much, you know, awareness about the disease out there as possible. So that when they are about to make their ultimate decision to settle down, they're already pre-informed, and then, you know, it's just like you can easily avoid it.
Yeah.
So
if you know your status.
So then it makes things a lot easier, you know, so that we don't have a lot of people living with the disease. So that's what we do. We try and we carry out a lot of outreach programs in secondary and tertiary institutions, as well as also free screening. We partner with certain other NGOs and then companies during their anniversaries or whatever events they have, and then give out free screening and then counseling as well, and mentorship.
Okay, so Gabriel, the people living with sickle cell, they go through a lot of pain and complications. How will someone notice that, oh, a complication is about to happen? Some of the signs that the person will see, so that maybe the person can do something about it earlier.
Yes. So as I actually said before, because sickle cell actually affects the red blood cells, and it's not able to carry oxygen to the various parts of the body. The first sign and symptom that one may actually see is with regards to the pain in some of the body joints. So you see, usually when we are in the cold weather, we have some people expressing pain in their joints. They tell you that, oh, I'm having pain in my joints and those kind of stuff. That is very true. That are some of the symptoms. Going forward, we have situations where you would see that one of the patients or some of the patients are having splenic sequestration. The spleen is actually responsible for taking out certain red blood cells, these abnormal ones, and it filters the blood actually. So because the sickle cell do not have normal sheets, they get stuck in certain blood organs, especially the spleen. And so you would see some of the patients showing signs of a sequestrated spleen, where part of their body, especially near their rib cage, you would see that is where actually the spleen is. And so you'd see that place a little bit swollen or even hard. And because sickle cell reduces the lifespan of the red blood cell, in actual fact, the red blood cell is supposed to take 120 days before it's broken down. But for patients with sickle cell, their red blood cells actually take between 10 to 20 days. And so it gives pressure on the very organ that is supposed to actually take out the red blood cell, because it's given more work to do than in a normal person. And when these red blood cells are broken down, we call something bilirubin. This bilirubin gets deposited in the various tissues. And so you would see patients, some people having jaundice. Jaundice is actually deposits of this bilirubin in the various body tissues. And so you see some of their eyes being yellow, you see part of their skins being yellow. That should give you an indication that it may be sickle cell if you don't know what it's actually about. We also have patients who present with cholelithiasis. Yes, that is also something that affects the gallbladder in patients living with sickle cell.
Okay.
But the main thing that you would see with patients with sickle cell is, especially with the pain crisis, they express the pain crisis very, 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 very much. And also they present with anemia. Because their red blood cells is deficient, definitely they would have loss of blood and they'll present with anemia.
Okay, so in a situation where people, a male and a female, didn't check their status, they got married, they made a baby, and then they realized that, oh, after birth, there's this screening. So they realized that, okay, the baby has sickle cell. I mean, the emotional breakdown of knowing that your baby has sickle cell, you know that all the days of your life, you'll be taking the baby to the hospital and everything. What kind of training or psychological help can you provide such parents with, Salim?
Well, let me start by saying that in the event of such, a situation, it's not the end of the world. It's really key to get that into the minds of the parents of that offspring. That is not the end of the world. In as much as it's going to be difficult, in the first few years of the child, that child can live, and then grow up to become somebody in future. So that's where the psychological, counseling comes in. Mainly, the thing with sickle cell is, if you have it, thankfully now we have the bone marrow transplant. That has gone a very long way. It's been a major breakthrough. But it's all about management, if you have the disease. Once you are aware you have the disease, and then you are not as healthy as somebody who doesn't, someone with the AA trait. You have to be conscious about yourself and then manage it. It goes a long way to help. It reduces your occurrences of having crisis. It reduces your frequency to the hospital. And then you live, I know someone who's lived for 80 years plus with sickle cell. And this is not even with SC, with an SS.
Wow.
So it's possible. It's very possible. So with regards to the parents that might have this news broken, to them, they have to be counseled, because it's going to be tough on them. That one, I won't lie to you, it's going to be tough. But then they also have to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, so that they don't give up. Because once your own parent has to sink in deep. So what we normally do is that we really enforce on the counseling, and we're always in contact. We share stories, motivational stories of people who have lived and battled sickle cell their whole life, and how they've grown up to be, their achievements. All this gives them hope. No one can take hope away from you, Yes.
Okay, Gabriel, anything to add to it?
Yeah, I think that was a very good submission from my brother Salim. Yes, so the thing is, we always preach, get to know your sickle cell status. But we have people who don't know, then they give birth to these kind of babies. Yes, as he rightfully said, in the early years, it's going to be very tough. Yes, and so the people would have to, for every birth annually, 2% of them get sickle cell. That is around 15,000 babies getting sickle cell. And out of these 15,000 babies, you have close to 12,000 dying before the age of 5. That is why we definitely preach that. Get to know your sickle cell status even before marriage. But once you don't know and you give birth, you try to also know the sickling status of your baby, and you know how to really manage it. And definitely, he said that there's someone who is old, has lived past 80 years.
80 years. That's
Once
a long
you are able,
way.
That's really
SS
even
plus
people don't
80 years. Yeah.
And it all also depends on the parents of that particular child. Once you get to know, it's like being prepared for battle. Once you know what is going to happen, you'll be able to keep yourself well informed and protect your baby too.
Okay, we are going on a quick break. When we come back, it's World Sickle Cell Day. They are going to tell us what they have in store for their various organizations and what is happening. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is still Health Africa on AAU TV. If you just tuned in, you can follow the conversation on Facebook at Association of African Universities, on YouTube to Association of African Universities, and do well to follow our Instagram and Twitter handles. It will do you good. So gentlemen, let's continue. Before we went on a break, World Sickle Cell Day is here. What do your various outfits have for the public? Gabriel, start it again.
So this year's World Sickle Cell Day is going to be like no other. In fact, now we have Sickle Cell Awareness Initiative, we have Sickle Strong Warriors, we have Ghana Association of Hematologists, we have Sickle Cell Foundation of Ghana. Nice. So it's going to be a coalition of NGOs, and it's going to be a much bigger event than previous years. For the programs that we are going to do, basically we'll do the awareness creation, because once you create awareness, you get people to be aware that sickle cell is there, sickle cell this and that. You don't die of sickle cell just like any other person. Yeah. So we also have certain programs that we are going to do. We'll be having tree planting, which would be for the fallen heroes. Yeah, people who die. Yeah, because of sickle cell. Yeah. We are also going to have blood donation exercise. Apparently, our blood bank in Ghana is running out of blood. So as part of our activities, we want to also help Mother Ghana. We are also patriotic citizens.
Yes, you have to be.
Yes. So we would be inviting a whole lot of people, and it's also open to the general public. If you want to see what we are doing, you can also come there. The awareness, the blood donation, the tree planting. We would have webinars where we would also teach people on how to manage sickle living with sickle cell.
Okay. So still with coronavirus around, you're still doing blood donation with all the measures
in place, obviously. Yes,
I am glad you mentioned the measures in place. That's true.
Yes, absolutely. That's critical.
Okay. Anything?
Yes. Just to add to what to what Gabriel said, with their status, and depending on the outcome, there are seasoned health practitioners around who are ever ready to provide counseling, to provide advice, whatever your result is. Whatever result comes out of the screening. Yes. So this on Friday we'll be having that at Kolebu at Consolado in Takoradi.
Nice.
As well.
Nice.
Yes.
Not only in Accra.
No, not only in Accra.
Okay. So how easily accessible is a treatment plan?
Okay, so with hydroxyurea, thankfully, the government of Ghana signed a memorandum of understanding with Novartis. You know, Novartis is one of the giants in the pharmaceutical industry. So they, by virtue of this MOU in place, we have security of supply of hydroxyurea in Ghana. So it's readily available in pharmacies. Now, the issue with the pricing is what we are still leveraging, government to at least try and put in some subsidies to make it more affordable, for people living with sickle cell to be able to patronize. So the thing with hydroxyurea as well is that it's not a cure. It's not a cure. It's not a cure. It only reduces the crisis complications that sickle cell patients face. It reduces it by a great deal, so they don't frequent the hospital, as much as possible. So, it's one of the breakthroughs that have also come through in addition to the bone marrow transplants, which we are very thankful for.
Because I read somewhere that it alters the course of the disease. So I was wondering if it takes it out completely and it's a cure and we haven't heard about it and you're keeping it to yourselves, or it's okay. So it's good to know that it actually helps reduce the pain. Okay, so right now we give birth and now their child has SS or something related to sickle cell. At that point, with all the psychological help that you provide and the mother knowing that you're going to be having to take care of the child, you'll be frequenting the hospital and everything, would you advise that the couple continues to give birth, or at that point they should stop? Why do you look at each other?
Okay, let me just start with an example. I have two friends. They are actually older than me. A man and a woman, they are couples. So the man is AS and the woman is AS. Fortunately for them, they have given birth to two kids and both of them are AA.
Oh,
So they've
lucky.
decided not to give birth
Again.
because they don't want to give birth because it's probability. You don't know who you are going to give birth to. You don't make that selection. Yes, we encounter certain situations where people would come, they will say that I am AS, he's also AS. We'll get married, we'll give birth to AA. We like to tell the general public that you don't have that power to choose that. So for a mother or parents who have given birth to a sickle cell patient, I think usually what we advocate is we try to let them be aware, then they would make the informed choice. Basically, when you give birth to an SS, definitely the struggles and the troubles you would go through, and you not having the power to choose the next baby, the genotype of the next baby. Nobody will tell you that continue or not continue. So we just educate them, and when they get to know, they would make that informed choice. We try as much as possible not to go in deeper into the relationship of those people, but we just educate them, and they make their own informed decision.
Okay. So it all boils down to knowing your status before
being well informed.
Yeah.
I mean, basically.
Okay, so we're wrapping up here. I would like to know some of the challenges that, as an NGO, you have faced in this line of work, working with sickle cell, like all the challenges that you encounter on a day.
You know, they most of the times when you want to embark on any outreach program or you want to hold any events to help advance the cause of advocacy for sickle cell, you know, the funding is usually, you know, the main obstacle. You would realize that a lot of these companies would easily open their checkbooks and then sign for maybe an entertainment event, you know, but then probably would be a bit reluctant. I mean, you have to go an extra mile to actually justify the cause, you know, to get them to part, you know, with money. But I mean, it hasn't deterred us. You know, we know that it's part and parcel. Still go at it. I mean, in spite of these challenges, because once we have, you know, a consistent source of funding, be it from a private institution or even better still government, if government can make an budget allocation on a yearly basis to support groups like ours, you know, that advocate for sickle cell, and then help put up, you know, centers around in all regions, you know, to continue the good work, to just propagate the message. Because you know what, the thing is, if you have a greater number of your population, right, living with sickle cell, in as much as we have come to put the facts right in a certain to a certain extent, that it doesn't mean that they are split babies or they die or anything. It's also in a way hampers your productivity as a nation. You know, you would want to have a lot more of your population being healthy so as to contribute, you know, holistically. So if they could also look at it from that angle and then, you know, part with some budgets, you know, to help the cause, it would be fantastic.
Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think what he said is very true. Our main problem is funding. And so even this year, it was one big pharmaceutical company that's actually helping, which is Novartis, helping us with the funding.
Wow, thanks to Novartis.
Yeah, so for every group like ours, it's a non-governmental organization. The first problem we have is the funds. Secondly, we also look for volunteers, because you can start an association, but without people partnering or people taking part, definitely it's going to crumble. So we also look to get more volunteers on board, because look at what we are coming to do on the June 19th. It's going to be a big program, and so we would have to get a lot of people who would help with the blood donation, who would help with setting up, who would help with the media, who would even share stuff during the program. And so we also look for people to also join our various NGOs, and it would help champion our cause.
Okay, so your final words here with regards to stigma against people with sickle cell.
Well, what I would say is we need to open our arms, you know, open your arms wide. Love anybody that you find out is living with sickle cell as much as you would love the next person that you find, or even love them more if possible.
They need
you know, they need it. It doesn't hamper their ability, in terms of mental capacity. No, they are only restricted in a way, health-wise and physically. But then I know of very, very brilliant, people living with not just the trait, but actually the disease.
Okay.
So the love has to be there in abundance, in as much as possible, and the support in any way, for people living with sickle cell has to be shown and given to them in any instance.
Okay, yeah. Gabriel.
Yes, I think even in this COVID season, the government is preaching against stigmatization.
Yeah.
Yes, for every health issue, stigmatization is something that we always condemn. For patients who live with sickle cell, all I like to say is we, the ones who see ourselves to be normal, these are human beings. That is what we should first register in our minds, that they are first human beings, and therefore we should make sure we show love and affection even more to these kind of people, because they are also basically human beings. Yes, and so stigmatization, we really condemn that. Secondly, it is always good to know your sickle cell status. You don't wait till, usually people wait, and when they are about to get married, that is where, even the last time we were talking and someone said they have already bought their wedding gowns and
what did they do?
At that point in time, what would you do? You see,
the attachment alone.
The attachment alone. So you try as much as possible. If you don't know, get to know. Once you get to know, you'll be able to make an informed decision. And just as he said, once we all get to know our status, it would help bring down even mortalities associated with sickle cell.
Right.
Because every year, close to 12,000 babies die because of sickle cell. Most of them don't know. The parents don't know where the child is getting that disease even from.
Okay.
So let's get tested and let's make the right decisions.
Okay, thank you very much. And then, Gabriel, anybody who wants to maybe come for the blood donation, websites they can check on so that they will be able to participate. Is there any website or number like that so that you can share it?
Okay, you can follow our handle on Instagram, Peer Foundation Ghana, and then the contact number is 026-109-3375 if you want to partake in the virtual tree planting exercise that Gabriel talked about, and then the blood donation as well.
Okay, Gabriel.
Yes, and also we are also trying to go public really well on Facebook. So when you go to Facebook, you can just type in Sickle Life.
Okay.
We put information there, what we are going to do, the NGOs we are also partnering with. So just Google for Sickle Life on Facebook, just search for that, and you can follow us. Then you can also visit our website, which is www.sicklelife.org.
Okay.
You can go to become a volunteer.
Okay.
Or be part of Sickle Life, and you
exactly.
will be able to join.
Exactly. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming through for me today. It's been a pleasure hosting you, and I've enjoyed the conversation. Viewers, I know you have enjoyed it more than I have sitting here. So thank you very much for staying tuned with Health Afrique. Today we have continued with a discussion on sickle cell-related stigma. As Salim said, even 80 years and above. So you just have to take care of yourself. Let's show them more love because they need it. And also, World Sickle Cell Day, I want to say I equal to all people who are living with sickle cell and still braving the storm. And also, thank you to Novartis for, bringing together all the sickle cell NGOs. My name is Bridget Amadente. Do stay tuned for other programs.
The Association of African Universities, AAU, is an international non-governmental organization set up by universities in Africa to promote cooperation among themselves and the international academic community.
Mon nom est professeur Étienne Eouan-Eilé. Je suis le secrétaire général de l'Association des universités africaines qui est basée à Accra, au Ghana. Je vais vous parler de la création de l'Association des universités africaine. Il faut remonter dans les années 60 pour pouvoir comprendre le processus. Déjà en 1960, nos dirigeants estimaient que l'éducation est l'outil majeur pour pouvoir lutter contre la pauvreté et assurer le développement.
I am Notumo Dlamini, the Director of ICT Services and Knowledge Management at the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities is a network of 400 universities in Africa. The biggest value that the universities benefit from being members of the association is this big platform that allows them to collaborate, allows them to work together, allows them to teach together. Through this platform, a university in North Africa can work with a university in Southern Africa, and also those in East Africa can work with those in
Morocco by heads of African higher education institutions. The association is currently headquartered in Accra, Ghana.
My name is Maxwell Amo-Hoyt. I'm the Director of Finance of the Association of African Universities. The association sustains itself from contributions from member universities and also from other development partners. Some of our development partners include the World Bank, other governmental agencies like the Swedish International Development Agency, UK Department for International Development, and other partners. We also receive a lot of support from other governments, especially the government of Ghana. Other partners include the African Union, which is more or less the parent organization of the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities hosts the Secretariat for the African Union's Continental Education Strategy. And by so doing, we provide coordinating roles for the African Union in helping members achieve their targets.
Déjà en 1960, nos dirigeants estimaient que l'éducation est l'outil majeur pour pouvoir lutter contre la pauvreté et assurer le développement. Et rappelons-nous que les années 60, la décade 60, a été une décade où la plupart des pays africains ont obtenu leur indépendance, position pour être indépendants. C'était donc aussi l'année de développement, dans la mesure où tous ces pays indépendants devaient se retrouver de temps en temps pour parler de comment mettre ensemble leurs problèmes et trouver une solution. Au contexte-là, l'éducation était une priorité pour eux, surtout l'éducation universitaire. Et sur ce plan-là, les universités aussi se sont organisées grâce à l'UNESCO qui a parrainé plusieurs réunions depuis Madagascar jusqu'au Maroc.
My name is Jonathan Umba. I'm the Director of Research and Academic Planning. The programs and projects that we run at AAU are consistent with our strategic plan, and they are implemented for our higher education stakeholders, namely the higher, are implemented in such a way that our stakeholders will get the benefit of membership of our association. And our programs also are aligned with a number of global and international agendas on higher education, including the Continental Education Strategy for Africa and Agenda 2063. So these programs are aligned with a number of international agendas with a view to promoting higher education in Africa.
The AAU is the apex organization and principal forum for consultation, exchange of information, and cooperation among universities in Africa.
I am Professor Nkusa Mahao, Vice Chancellor of the National University of Lesotho in the Kingdom of Lesotho in Southern Africa. There are roughly 77 universities that are affiliated with the AAU in the region, but as you might be aware,